Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints episode 127. This is our weekly little get-together. We talk about recent gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is, in his undisclosed basement room today.
I'm David in my creepy place. There's stuffed animals near me. It's crazy.
We have been gone for a while because I got horribly sick. It hit me last Monday, and I couldn't even talk. My voice swelled up so much. I haven't even made a stream roughly until today. So if you missed us, let's be honest, you didn't. But I
Yeah.
appreciate the sentiment anyways.
Well, and I've been moving, so I just haven't been here.
Yeah,
Been
it
busy.
is. It has been quite a time for the past few weeks for both of us. So, on tonight's docket, David, we have some game rumors that we need to talk about. Rage 2, just out of fucking nowhere. BossKey,
Dude,
unfortunately, shutting down.
that Twitter chain was so fantastic, by the way. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. As always, I just want to let people who are watching this show live know this is audience interactive. So if you have any questions or comments or anything you want to bring up, feel free to pop in the chat. I am more than welcome to take questions from there. If you can't watch us live, however, you can always take a look at our YouTube page. Just type in Game Points one word and we pop right up there. Regardless of where you happen to be watching or listening at, feel free to like, follow, subscribe, throw bits at, and all that good stuff. Or not. I mean, I'm just jazzed to have you here. But either way, just keep it cool and we will try to do the same, except when I get really ranty and just fly off on a tangent and start banging my fist on the desk. Though I don't think any of that is going to happen today, David.
Yeah, for once, we're not mad at the news.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that sucks, but there's nothing really pissing me off.
Yeah, I feel like the last, honestly, few months, there's always been like a story or two that just kind of drive us up the wall, and we just get so heated about it.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to know that today, while there's some bummer stuff, it's not going to be that kind of day.
Right. And a quick bit of foreshadowing for future shows. We do have E3 coming up next month. We are going to be doing our E3 predictions show either next week or the week after. We're not quite sure yet. But if you have any E3 predictions you want to email us, send it to gamepointspc@gmail.com or just tweet them at myself at capitalistpig21 over at Twitter or at gamepointspc if you want to do it to the show itself. Either way, we'll see and we'll make sure to get read on the show. David,
Yes, sir.
let's go ahead and start with the first story here, and it's sad, but not really surprising.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I really wanted to believe. I'm one of 11 people that liked this game.
Right.
Uh,
We are, of course, talking about Lawbreakers and Radical Heights. Earlier today, Cliff Bleszinski, who was the Grand Poobah at BossKey, essentially announced that that studio responsible for those games is shutting down. Here's a
yep.
statement from him. As of today, BossKey Productions is effectively no more. 4 years ago, I set out to make a world-class video game studio, and I hired some of the best talent in the video game industry. They worked tirelessly to produce quality products, and while we had our ups and downs, I'd like to think we had our fun doing it. Lawbreakers was a great game that unfortunately failed to gain traction, and in a last-ditch attempt, we scrambled to do our take on the huge battle royale genre with Radical Heights, which was well received, however, it was too little too late. As for myself, I'm going to take some time off and reflect. I need to focus on myself and family as well as my Aussie Teddy, who is slowly fading from us. Video games will forever be part of who I am, and I hope to make something new again someday. However, I need to withdraw and take this time. To those who have supported myself in the studio these last years, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and everyone who came to work for me. Please note that the servers for Radical Heights will remain up for the near future. Thanks again, Cliff. This fucking sucks. I never like to hear a studio get closed down, especially a studio that had so much promise, because I know no one played it, which is why the studio's closing down. But
mm-hmm.
Lawbreakers was generally entertaining.
Yeah, that game was really solid. It harkened back to the old school shooters, like Unreal, Quake, stuff like that, but with a little bit of the hero shooter elements thrown in because, you have character classes and stuff like that, like Team Fortress and Overwatch. But it hit in a market that's so saturated. We've known about that game for so much longer before it came out, and every other hero shooter beat it to the punch. And there wasn't market share for it. They had a little bit of play especially when it had a free weekend, it got kind of popular. But then we've talked about it. The stories of people playing that game have dwindled and dwindled and dwindled to where there was a core group of like 9 or 11 players hanging out on a Discord server that would literally coordinate games because there was no way to just sit down, search for a lobby, and get a match. You had to actually join this little group of people that wanted to keep the game alive and play with them specifically.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. And like he said, Radical Heights, very realistic when it came out. It was very bare bones. I didn't really see all that much.
I mean, it was so
there yet.
early.
Yeah.
So early for them to try and release it, but they needed something because they're just hemorrhaging from
And I think we said at the time that this felt like releasing Radical Heights felt like a desperation move.
Mm-hmm.
And
like they needed.
Seems like it was. Either way, that definitely sucks. I kind of wish Radical Heights we could have seen what that would have turned into. I personally didn't see it going anywhere big.
Dude, I absolutely love the idea of a battle royale game, but influenced more by the Running Man and things of that ilk. Smash TV looking like a 80s nonsense throw up sci-fi.
Right.
I'm into it. It's great for me.
But yeah, it was a once again just I mean Cliff Bleszinski said it best: too little, too late, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, man, it sucks to see studios like this shut down. I'm sure that everyone working at BossKey will get picked up sooner or later because he did say, like he said, they are some talented people there. If you ever actually played Lawbreakers, you see what could have been a great game there, just released at a bad time in an oversaturated market.
Yep.
Anyways, that is a shame. Best wishes out to those affected by that company shutting down. Dave, why don't you go ahead and lead us on our next story here?
Well, in a different note, we're going to talk about something that was a little unexpected, mainly because no one really asked for it, but I think we need a little bit of backstory before I just start talking about it.
Okay.
About sometime this last week, there was a leak from Walmart Canada that listed a big giant list of games on their page as pre-orders. And some companies will do this. They'll just put up a page for placeholders for games that they know are coming out or assume they're coming out, or maybe they have inside information and they know for a fact that it's coming out even if it hasn't been announced yet. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on that list. There was the Final Fantasy VII Remake. There was Just Cause 4, Splinter Cell, Dragon Quest 2, which was probably supposed to be Builders. The Lego DC Villains game, stuff was misspelled, stuff was mixed up. Borderlands 3, Gears of War 5, Forza Horizons 5, which is weird because they haven't made a fourth one yet. Assassin's Creed, Metroid Prime 5, Destiny, and Rage 2. A sequel to a game that had one of the worst endings of any game. And a lot of people, I don't think, wanted a sequel to Rage. But the best thing is Walmart posted this, and the guys that were working on it actually responded to them with a Photoshop, because Walmart uses a blank black cover for the game and then just white text. And they actually, it looks like it was proofread. You know, they crossed it out and put capitals, and they needed bold colors, and they like redid the whole box art. And then they changed their Twitter profile picture to that edited box art.
Yeah, they essentially, the social marketing team for Rage 2 reactivated the old Rage account, which has been dormant since the first one came out, and for the most part proofread the Walmart article. Yeah,
and it was flippin' funny. It was great. It was hugely like fantastic as far as timing is concerned, and everyone's like, does this mean Rage is real? And then Bethesda had a one-word follow-up that just said the word dude.
Yeah.
Which, you know, the internet took to mean that that's factual, and it turns out it is. So Avalanche...
Good.
Sorry, I was just going to say Avalanche is working on Rage 2.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up right here. This is a tweet from Avalanche Studios. The rumors are true, and wow, there have been some rumors lately. Rage 2 is happening. We've teamed up with the shooter gods at id Software on this beast of a game and can't wait for you to see it. Reveal trailer here, gameplay reveal tomorrow. Now, normally I would have the trailer playing in the background as we talk about it, but honestly, this little teaser trailer, it's just a bunch of live action nonsense of people who look, I don't even want to say they're Borderlands rejects, they're more Mad Max rejects, because Borderlands has a very distinct aesthetic to it, and this doesn't really fall into that. Some good news to take away from this, Avalanche is working on it, and if you never played Mad Max, play fucking Mad Max, and I am so excited to see them working on Rage, Because one thing that sucked about the first Rage was the card combat. But if you've ever played that new Mad Max game, well, not new, like a couple years old by now, it is some of the best, most satisfying card combat I've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah, and it had a better story than Rage, because let's be real, that game's about exposition and then exposition and then exposition, and then right before you might actually do something, the credits roll.
Yeah. that game does end very abruptly.
But we're gonna get a second one, so maybe they'll pick up where it left off. Maybe they'll ignore it and they'll go a totally different way. And this will be the Rage sequel that's much like Prey is a Prey 2 game.
I get the feeling it's going to be a direct sequel, in my opinion, because
they did put a number on it. That does help.
Yeah, and this Bethesda in general has no problem just rebooting a franchise and calling it that name again. I mean, Prey, Doom.
Mm.
So the fact that this actually has 2 on it, to me, means it will be a direct sequel. So a couple things to take away from this. One, I mentioned earlier, Avalanche is working on it. It's going to be awesome. 2, they are collaborating with id Software on this, but id Software doesn't seem to be doing a lead role in this, because there is no way in hell id is not currently working on Doom 2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, that's why they're not making Rage 2, is because they're doing Doom 2, right? I mean, nothing official has been confirmed on that yet, but that has to be what they're working on.
It just makes the most sense of what they're going to do right now.
Doom 2016, I believe it's 2016 when it came out.
Yeah.
Was looked as kind of suspiciously. People were really worried about it when it came out. They're like, oh, no early release copies. The multiplayer builds that we played over were kind of rough. And then that game came out, and it was legitimately contender for Game of the Year in 2016. It might have been my Game of the Year in 2016. I don't remember. Do you remember?
I think you might have called that out, actually. You loved that damn game.
God, it was so good. And
the soundtrack, too.
Yeah, everything about that game, the single-player experience of that game, I should say, was fantastic. So you're wondering why id is not necessarily making Rage 2? I guarantee it's because they're doing Doom 2. Also, shout out to Pete Hines. He's the guy at Bethesda. He's one of the big bobs there. He just straight out came out and said, yeah, leaks happen. It sucks, but the social media team's on it. We had this originally, I think he said originally planned it was supposed to be this Friday when it was all going to start getting teased. But he's like, you know what? The cat's out of the bag. Just fucking push everything up and we'll deal with it then, rather than pretending that nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Which other companies do sometimes.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. They just kind of owned it. They let it happen. I'm like, oh, well, whatever.
And I think this might be a little bit of recognition of how badly they handled I want to say was it with Prey? Because I could be getting this wrong. But I remember way back when, in like 2012 or 13 or something like that, and I want to say it was Jason Schreier leaked the news that Prey was getting remade under a different team. It was being worked on by Arcane. Bethesda was just like, no, this game's not happening. He's fucking lying, and there's no way in hell this could happen. And then like a month later, they officially announced it.
Mm-hmm.
And they caught a lot of shit over that, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong. I could be thinking of another company. I'm glad to see Bethesda just go, shit happens. Here it is.
Yep.
And they made lemonade out of some lemons. So yeah, Rage 2, more than likely get a lot of details in the next couple weeks with E3 around the corner. Let's go ahead and move on to our next story here. Now we're going to get into some rumor mongering, because it is that time of year when leaks and rumors and all that stuff comes out.
It's the best time. It's where we just make shit up, mostly, and see what sticks.
Well, this time around, this is one of those rumors that I think people are kind of running away with, because it literally is just a bunch of trademarking. And there is this Japanese Twitter bot called Trademark Bot. And it posts anytime a new trademark is filed. And people have gone a little nuts because, and I know this is in Japanese right now, but you'll be able to understand why people are freaking out over this. Nintendo filed a bunch of trademarks recently. One, that's clearly the Smash Brothers logo. And then we get names like Star Fox, F-Zero, Pikmin, Yoshi's Island, Art Style, whatever that is, Flipnote Studio, Sin and Punishment, The Legend of Starfy, Nintendogs, Leaks Crossbow Training, Wii Fit, Wii Music, Wii Play, Wii Sports. And that's not the right scene. There we go. A lot of people over on the forums like Reset Era, etc., are losing their shit because they're like, oh my god, new Star Fox and new F-Zero and new Sin and Punishment are coming. Okay, cool, I get that. But before everyone starts champing at the bit thinking that was a leak of a whole bunch of Switch announcements, remember, trademarks get re-upped all the time. And you have shit like Link's crossbow trained in there, which was a Wii Fit, Wii Sports, and Nintendogs. These could just be them either re-upping the trademark, or they could be bringing ports over to the Switch, or they could be legitimately brand new games. We don't know.
Here's the other thing that makes it really, really obvious. Nintendo has a new Smash Brothers game coming out.
Yep.
You know what's probably going to be in it?
That logo?
All of the characters from all of these fucking games.
I did not think about that. They could be re-upping the trademarks just to make sure they have all their ducks in a row.
Yeah. I mean, F-Zero, they got Captain Falcon. They've probably got a stage for him. I mean, obviously, like Zelda's a lock and all this other stuff, but that's what I think. Don't get me wrong. I have made F-Zero, a brand new F-Zero game, one of my E3 predictions every single year since we started doing this show. And spoiler alert, it's on my fucking list again this year. But as much as I want that to happen, it's just so unlikely that that's what this is. Although if it does, that's a day one buy for me. I'll buy another Switch. I don't give a shit.
Fair enough. I personally feel that a lot of these are just trademark refreshes, and I think the internet is making mountains out of molehills here, and I don't think there's too much here.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun to make random shit up and see what sticks to the wall. Mm-hmm. Because every now and then...
Because if you're right, you'll get internet famous.
Yeah, and every now and then, sometimes some weird shit happens. For example, we had Mario vs. Rabbids, and along those lines of weird shit happening, this report from Eurogamer, apparently some leaks suggest that Nintendo Retro Studios, you know the guys that made the original Metroid Prime games, are working on a Star Fox Racing spin-off. A round of internet leaks has suggested Nintendo's Retro Studios, developer of Metroid Prime Trilogy, is working on a Star Fox Racing spin-off. The leaks appeared online over the weekend on 4chan and Reddit, and were reported this morning on multiple game sites and blogs. So what do we believe here at Eurogamer? Well, as improbable as Retro making a Star Fox Racing spin-off may sound, Eurogamer sources have heard similar. Details posted by Reddit user Das Vergeben, who has a patchy record, touted Retro's Star Fox project as a racing game, quote, like Diddy Kong mixed with F-Zero. It'll have an adventure mode of some kind, and there will be a boss fights and a hub world like it too. It's called Star Fox Grand Prix. Eurogamer themselves didn't hear the name before, but they have heard other details from their own sources that kind of line up with what they're hearing here, so I get the feeling this is going to happen. Of course, this appears up on 4chan. Take this with a grain of salt. It's an image with the title on there. No idea if this is going to be final or if it's even faked. But, man, this sounds like it's legitimately going to happen.
Why would they make a racing game out of Star Fox? I mean, I don't even need to get into them making an actual fucking Star Fox game right now. That's a whole nother question. You have a racing franchise that you have sat on since 2006, you fucking assholes.
You have a science fiction racing franchise.
I'm going to start printing shirts that say F-Zero is the dream, boxing them up and mailing them to every single Nintendo executive I can get the mailing address for.
Man, that's going to be really expensive.
It is what it is.
So, here's the thing. Does this mean that let's start at the beginning here. One, I absolutely think this is legit.
It sounds terrible, so yeah, I believe it.
There are too many sources lining up saying, yes, something like this is coming, and it's too weirdly out there to be 100% complete rumor. Two,
it's
technically...
It's going to be their Mario Kart Wipeout Edition.
This technically matches up with one of the endings to Star Fox Command, where he goes off and joins the F League or something like that. It was G0 Racing, or it was like a play on F-Zero. 3, this does not necessarily mean the death of F-Zero. You still have, Nintendo has a lot of racing properties. Let's not forget Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Kart, of which Retro Studios worked on Mario Kart 7. So there's already some crossover there to help solidify that Retro might be working on this. It is not improbable that F-Zero is still being developed somewhere.
You know what I would actually prefer? If this is just controlled rumor mongering and everyone's talking about a Star Fox racing game, and it turns out they actually are just making an F-Zero game, but it has special appearances from the Star Fox cast.
I mean, it could be it. I doubt that's going to be it. I get the feeling this is going to be a Star Fox game with its name on there, with maybe special appearances from the F-Zero cast, but not the other way around. And Star Fox has been kind of battered and bruised, so it needs to go sit in the timeout corner for a little bit, and this is kind of Nintendo's timeout corner, right? You don't get a real game.
Just keep making shitty games about it.
We're going to make a game that we know has solid fundamentals and hopefully bring the name back, because Star Fox Zero really fucked up the name of that franchise.
Yeah, maybe they should try making an actual goddamn Star Fox game.
But is there room for that anymore? Because Star Fox really, at the most part, was a rail shooter.
Yeah, but how about you remake it and make it play like Ace Combat in space?
Now, that would be amazing. And we've seen that to a degree. Remember some of those Star Fox 64 levels had the arena where once you hit the wall, you'd bounce back. Like the Assault on the Mothership is one that comes to mind when I think of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know they can do it.
Yeah, they could also just make it a space sim-styled game, but with Star Fox in it.
Star Fox could be the Colony Wars we've both been eagerly awaiting.
That's so damn true.
It's not going to happen. I can tell you that right now. It's not going to happen.
Oh, Nintendo. You raise my hopes and dash them quite expertly every time. And then I get all bummed out before the Switch comes out, and I think, man, this looks like a joke, and it turns out to be the greatest thing in the world. So who knows?
I mean, this could be good.
This could be the greatest. That's at this point, you can't bet against Nintendo.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, like, I don't know. I hate the way this sounds. It's like Nintendo's new online pass, which we would have talked last week, but
it's $20 a year, and you still have to use your phone to talk online, and you get access to a bunch of fucking Nintendo Classic games.
Yeah, with no virtual console.
No virtual console.
But
no
maybe they'll
voice chat, no parties, no anything useful. Just $20 a year.
But who knows how many Nintendo games are going to be adding on as that service keeps growing, and it might not take any away. I don't
care. Let's be real. The NES Classic was a thing that I was super hyped for until I looked at it, and then I didn't give a shit. The Super Nintendo Classic, however, is something that I still interact with because, spoiler alert, Nintendo games didn't actually age that well.
A lot of them did not, correct.
Super Nintendo games are remarkably still playable. Not all of them. I'm not going to just make a blanket statement and say every single Super Nintendo game is like still a fantastic game. But a lot of them are pretty solid and have a lot of the fundamentals of the shit we play now. So, if you give me access to Super Nintendo games on my Switch, I'm into it. So stoked. Playing Super Nintendo games portably is why I still own a PSP.
Yeah, Nintendo just seems to leave so much money on the table, right?
And that's the thing that's weird, is it seems like they have this ability to print money and they just refuse to do it.
But what do we really know? Because they are printing money. I mean, they might have some master plan that we're not aware of and that we can't see.
Maybe they're just holding on to it until everyone's like pissed at them, and then they drop it at the exact perfect time.
It's so hard to tell with fucking Nintendo because they're so unpredictable when it comes to that shit, which is both a strength and a weakness.
Yep.
Anyways, we were talking about Nintendo printing money and leaving stuff on the table. Well, it seems like they're going to rectify one of those things by announcing that the NES Classic is coming back.
Yeah.
NES Classic Edition will return on stores June 29th. This system and the Super Nintendo Classic Edition system are expected to be available through the end of the year. So maybe
it actually was a supply shortage the first time?
No, Nintendo has a history of creating artificial scarcity.
But the problem is, right? So remember the hype for the NES Classic before we even knew about the Super Nintendo Classic?
Yeah.
Knowing this now, besides hardcore fans that never could get one and didn't just buckle down for the eBay money, how many people really want an NES Classic right now?
Well, how many? Well, a lot of people, because you won't be able to really get these games on the Switch. They have a small smattering of them on their not virtual console online pass thing, but the only place you can get them is through buying physical hardware. Which could be one of the reasons why they nuked the virtual console, because they want to push the NES Classic and Super Nintendo Classic and probably make more money from it that way.
Yeah. Well, let's keep pushing those until people stop caring, and then right around the time they're making out like an N64 Classic or something, then they'll actually put these games on Switch.
Or maybe not. Remember, the virtual console never really turned into something that we wanted. In Japan, it was kind of cool, but in America, it always had... There were the damnedest gaps in there that shouldn't have been left empty, and it never really... It never filled the promise that it could have been. It was always hamstrung by something or other, and it never really became what it could have been. And Nintendo just... This is one of those situations where Nintendo has never really understood things like the online side of things. They're always like 3 steps behind Sony and Microsoft on the online store on the online store front and the connectivity play, but they're 5 steps ahead on some other things. It's
like innovation and
I am so could go. I have never both loved and hated a company as much as Nintendo, because they make the dumbest fucking decisions on sometimes. It's like, you stupid fuck. What's wrong with you? And then on the other hand, I'm like, wow, Mario Odyssey is fucking amazing. Who would have known the Switch would be an excellent console? I swear it's like 2 different people running Nintendo, and one of them's completely incompetent and one of them's the greatest mind ever.
But they have to take turns and the work has to be split 50-50.
Yeah.
Nintendo's fucking run by Master Blaster.
I don't get it. I don't get it. These seem like such simple solutions, and I don't know why they don't do them. But I'm just some guy behind a microphone in fucking California who doesn't even make games for a living. Who the hell do I know? What the hell do I know when it comes to putting stuff into this? There could be some legitimate reason not to.
And it's probably money.
Yeah, I just wish they would tell us.
Yeah, I'd like to know. That'd be great.
All right. We'll get 2 more stories to round out the night with there, David.
Speaking of things we know, this should be exciting for you, because I know you got really sad not too long ago when you assumed that this was a dead franchise. But in a quote via PC Games N, David and Fosse, who's the Eidos Montreal studio head, said Deus Ex is not dead. They had a chat with him about the next Tomb Raider game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and during their time with him, they asked him about the status of Deus Ex. His reply was adamant, quote, Deus Ex is not dead, I confirm that. Don't expect it anytime soon, however, for the moment they have too much on their plate. Deus Ex, of course, it's the brand of the studio. We're all attached to this franchise, but we cannot do everything, you know? So we have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we have this co-development with Crystal Dynamics on the Avengers, and we have a 3rd game in development, so that's enough at the moment for us. The 3rd game is previously been rumored as another game in the Square Enix Marvel partnership based on Guardians of the Galaxy. One thing it won't be, though, is a new Thief game, because he's already quashed rumors of Thief 5, and they don't want to do it.
Right. So, here's the thing about this. One, that Thief reboot was fucking horrible, and I'm kind of glad that they're not making that. I want them to sell that franchise to like Other Side Studio or something like that, which is, I believe, doing the System Shock, one of the System Shock reboots, and Underworld Ascendant, I think it's called. Essentially, it's a lot of guys out that you worked on those old games. I want them to get that IP back. 2, just because he says Deus Ex is not dead doesn't mean Deus Ex is dead or not dead. Remember,
it's probably going to be dead for a while.
Yeah, remember, technically EA has said Dead Space is not a dead franchise. In fact, they were very adamant about saying, no, Dead Space is not dead. Rumors to the contrary are bullshit. And remember when everyone was saying, hey, Behind the scenes, apparently Dead Space needed to sell 5 million copies to become a success, or else they'll kill the franchise. And it didn't sell 5 million copies. And people were like, hey, franchise is probably dead. And they have all these quotes from people saying the franchise is dead. And then some bigwig at EA came out and said these are false. They're not true. Not just we don't comment on rumors, speculation, but straight up was more or less calling people liars over it. But when's the last time you heard a peep from that franchise?
That's true.
So
they could be letting it simmer.
Yep.
Who knows, man? In 10 years, we can talk about the new Deus Ex game, the new Dead Space game, and the new Mass Effect game.
Yeah, just because. God, the Mass Effect's demise is fucking tragic. But the point I'm trying to make here is just because a developer says something is not dead does not mean that franchise is not dead.
Yeah, but see, you could have made the argument that Doom was dead, and Doom came back with a fucking vengeance.
Doom?
You made the argument that Wolfenstein was dead, and that came back with a vengeance as well.
Okay, so
when
it comes with Doom, that Doom game was being worked on for a very long time and went through multiple iterations, and we knew that game was being worked on multiple times. Remember back when it was called Doom 4, and it was supposed to be kind of a take on a Call of Duty shooter almost, and it was supposed to be super narrative, taking place on Earth? That got completely canned and turned into the Doom that we got today. As far as Wolfenstein, that is a franchise that really never died. They kept making odd little games too. I want to say it was Raven Software did the Wolfenstein and Return to Castle Wolfenstein, of which the New Order is set in that same universe, albeit 20 or 30 years later. So they didn't completely toss that baby out with the bathwater. But those games are... It's not like it was a dead franchise ever. They get kind of cranking out a new Wolfenstein game, even during its bad periods, once every few years or so.
All right. I'm just saying, you never know.
So, yeah. Deus Ex Not Dead. Okay, cool. Yay, awesome. You're not going to see a new Deus Ex game for minimum 5 years. Because he is right about one thing. They are working on multiple other games, and when Marvel gives you that Avengers money and goes, make an Avengers game, guess what you're doing?
Yeah, that makes sense.
They're making an Avengers
how about,
game.
What was the timeline between the last God of War game and the new God of War game? Because I think the last one was like Chains of Olympus or whatever on PSP, right?
No, God of War Ascension. God of War Ascension, March 12th, 2013, and that was the last game that Santa Monica Studio did. Now, the funny thing about Santa Monica Studio is they were working on... They also did God of War 3 Remastered, and that does take resources. That came out in 2015. But Santa Monica Studio was almost completely shut down. They were working on, I want to say it was some kind of science fiction game that was roughly like 70% complete. And Sony came in and said, this does not look good. It's not playing good. They canceled that game completely. They had massive layoffs. Sony Santa Monica was in dire straits, and then they went back to the God of War table. So 5 years between Ascension and God of War, the new one, with a God of War remastered thrown in there. But that makes sense considering that for the most part during that 5 years, Santa Monica made an entire new game that was almost finished before it got scrapped. So that makes sense. And Sony never came out and said God of War needs to sell X amount of copies or it's going to die. I'm going to mute my microphone because I'm about to start coughing here.
Well, I'm just going to stay positive because you're real mad about this whole Deus Ex thing. And
I'm not mad at it. I'm just disappointed.
But see, the last one came out like 2 years ago, man. If we're talking that God of War took 5 years off, why can't they?
Because God of War 2018 was announced in 2016, I believe. Maybe 2015. Let me look that up. God of War, blah, 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 blah. Release development. 2014 is when Cory Barlog confirmed a new God of War was in early development at the PlayStation Experience, which would have been a year after Ascension.
Okay, fine. Fuck you. I give up. All right. You're never gonna get another goddamn game. I'm trying to be on your side. I'm trying to help you out.
I
But
understand.
no.
I understand you trying to give me hope for Deus
You're
Ex. I
too
get it.
damn fucking pessimistic, man. I can only
But
do
I
so much.
don't want false hope.
I do.
False hope is what leads me to think that fucking Dead Space is always good, because much like you predict F-Zero is going to be at E3 every year, I predict fucking Dead Space is going to be at E3 every year. That's what false hope gives you. You're chased a dragon, and dragons have been extinct for at least 10 years.
When was the last Drakengard game?
Drakengard 3, PlayStation 3, I mean, I guess you can technically count Nier Automata because it's all the same universe.
Right, that's fine. Anyway, that's enough of this. That's enough dragging poor David and Fossey through the mud.
I'm just saying, if you're going to make bold claims on the internet, you got to bring your information, man.
Oh yeah, okay, that's how the internet works. Is that what you think? No one would just go on the internet and tell lies? We got one more story. You want to talk about it? It's barely,
let's go ahead and it is barely news, but it's once again, it's that time of year where rumors and speculation starts popping up everywhere, and we might have some news on the Mortal Kombat front.
Whoop-dee, 3D.
God damn it. In a tweet sent to Ed Boon, you know, that guy that does all the Mortal Kombat stuff, a fellow asked it would be so cool if Injustice 2 would get a fire pack for this year, 2018. To which he replied, you know what else would be cool? And of course, cool spelt with the K that you see in all the Mortal Kombat stylization. Clearly hinting at Mortal Kombat something coming.
Nope, Scorpion confirmed Injustice 2 DLC character.
Could be that. We don't know what this is. It could be a Mortal Kombat collection. It could be Mortal Kombat, 11? It could be another Mortal Kombat versus DC. It could be any number of things, but something Mortal Kombat-ish is coming.
Maybe it'll be a new Mortal Kombat Mythologies game.
You know, the thing about Mortal Kombat Mythologies, idea had potential. Mortal Kombat has a lot of story to it.
Yeah, dude.
Just the execution sucked. That game was balls. Cool idea, poorly handled.
Yeah.
Either way, David, if it's a new Mortal Kombat game or a collection or whatever it is, it's not going to be anytime soon. It, at most, will be one of those. And you can get it now at E3, which is a month away still.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to play some shit this week, what's out there for me?
There's a few things coming out this week. Not a lot of brand new stuff. I mean, there's one pretty good one, but there is some like re-releases and stuff coming out on different consoles. So we've got Dragon's Crown Pro, which is like kind of the definitive edition of Dragon's Crown, coming out for PS4 this week. This game was on PS3 and Vita in like 2013. It's the 4-player co-op, local or online play that plays like Golden Axe, King of the Dragons. It's a side-scrolling like slash 'em buddy romp game. I'm trying to think of something.
Disappointed by
like
Dragon's Crown myself because I went into it expecting Odin Sphere and Dragon's Crown. Not that it's bad, but I was really hoping for something more like an Odin Sphere or a Princess Crown.
All right. Forgotten Anne is on PS4 and Xbox One. If you look at it, it looks really damn good because it's like a hand animated, like indie adventure game, and just the visuals on it are kind of stunning, and the whole soundtrack is done by like it's like an orchestrated soundtrack, but done by an actual orchestra. It's like the London Philharmonic or somebody. I don't remember exactly who's on the list, but stylistically, it looks phenomenal. I don't really know how it plays. I've only seen some limited gameplay, but
the Copenhagen Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah, dude, it looks fantastic. We also have Goner for PS4. It's a procedurally generated 2D platformer with roguelike elements. Kind of gave me that like Meat Boy vibe.
Goner's been going around the indie scene for a little while now. It's been getting some buzz, so I'm kind of excited to see this finally coming out.
Mm-hmm. We have the Hitman Definitive Edition for PS4. If you remember, those Hitman games that came out episodically were actually pretty damn good.
New ones are good.
Especially if you put them all together in some kind of collection, maybe like a definitive one.
Do you remember that marketing campaign when you got to kill either Gary Busey or Gary Cole?
Yes.
It's a good marketing campaign.
Not bad. We also have for PS4, Xbox, and PC Little Witch Academia Chamber of Time. I know one person in my real life friends group that might want this game. It's an action role playing game based on the anime of the same name. It was released in Japan in November. It's a side scrolling 2D actiony role playing game. I don't know. It's not for me, but it may be for you. Take a look. We got Omen Sight for PS4 and PC. It's
Legitimately
another.
want to play this one. I did a preview for this on GameCritics.com. It is an action adventure time travel murder
Dude, they
mystery.
call it. Yeah, I was gonna say they call it an action murder mystery game. Is their tagline, which is pretty entertaining.
Yeah, it should be a quick playthrough. It felt like it was only going to be about 8 hours or so, but it definitely looks cool. And it's not a sequel, but it's set in the same universe as Stories, which was a PC game you can take a look at. Similar idea. Long story short, you're kind of like this avatar of a god that's sent to figure out who killed this priestess chick, because her death ends the world at the day. Everything gets blown all to hell, and then you restart and you play through multiple perspectives of different characters.
Man, there's another game that came out that had that same mechanic like a few weeks ago. I remember talking about it, where it's every time you play the game, you have like 3 minutes to try and figure out the game, and then you die and the world's reset, but things you changed stay changed. So you're like going through
I can't remember.
and figuring out your way through it. Also coming out this week for 3DS is Shin Megami Tensei: The Strange Journey Redo. This is the fourth Shin Megami Tensei game. They are the anime style visual novel games.
Well, it's be careful when you say the fourth Shin Megami Tensei game, because it's not the fourth one. The fourth one was Shin Megami Tensei Apocalypse. Strange Journey is a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei games.
Oh, well, I don't... It's really hard to track, because...
I know, if you're not into Megaten games, this is not going to be something that you're into, and you're not really going to know anything about it.
Well, because I read that it was the fourth one, but as far as I'm concerned, there's like 16 of these games, so I don't know if it was just the fourth one in that specific franchise. Because from what I understand, there's like different version. Like there's
what I think it is I think this is the
prefix in front of a bunch of games, and then each of those games have different series. Like they make me think of like the Tales games.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. This is kind of a spin-off. This could be the fourth release of this game, because this is a re-release of another release, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The Megaten stuff is, I mean, they're all pretty lengthy. They're all decently hard. There's usually some grindiness involved. You see a lot of the same enemies in it, and they all share very similar themes. This is the same, not universe, but the same kind of grouping of games that Persona is in, Nocturne, Devil Summoner, Digital Devil Saga. All of that is the same collection of games.
Oh, no, dude, this game is the fourth game in the series. This game came out in 2009.
It is not the fourth game in the series.
What? I'm on this game's Wikipedia page.
You might be on that Wikipedia page, but it is not. You have to be careful, because there's Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2. There's Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, and then there's Shin Megami Tensei 4. It's actually called Shin Megami Tensei 4. Now, Strange Journey came out before 4.
Oh my god, okay, so this is Code Veronica Resident Evil 3 all over again.
Yes, it's that similar idea.
Okay, that makes sense.
None of them are really connected. They're kind of like Final Fantasy.
Code Veronica. Well, if it's anything like Code Veronica, this is going to be the better of between this and Shin Megami 4. Let's be real. I'm saying Code Veronica was better than Nemesis. That's what.
I thought you were about to say Code Veronica was better than Resident Evil 4, and I was about to.
No.
About to have some words with you.
This is a 4 replacement. That was a 3 replacement. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
also coming out.
That's why I have to say you have to be careful with the Megaten stuff, because
I don't have to be that careful though.
Really weird.
You can Google, and then you can yell at me in the comments, and then I will have learned something, and will respond to you in a rational manner.
No, you won't.
Probably. Also coming out, we got Banner Saga on Switch. This is that throwback styled turn-based strategy RPG that looks like Dragon's Crown, basically.
No, it does not look like Dragon's Crown. Come on now. Banner Saga. Come on, David. Come on. Banner Saga. It is a strategy turn-based RPG with a heavy Viking narrative influence. You are essentially leading a group of survivors from the north away from a bunch of angry stone people who they themselves are running from a giant world-eating snake. The art style is amazing. It is a soon-to-be trilogy of games. The first two have already come out. They're both Kickstarter. The third one is soon to arrive, and this is the Switch port of it. I absolutely dig it. Imagine Oregon Trail if Oregon Trail had a strategy RPG component to it.
How many buffalo can you bring back?
None, but you can find food and you can blow up bridges and you can just murder a whole bunch of people. That game can go horribly, horribly wrong.
Excellent. See, the easy thing for me to do if I need to talk about a game that I know he's played is I just get it wrong, and then he gives you a synopsis much better than I can.
No, I'm actually a really big fan of Banner Saga. I am really excited to play the third one when it comes out. It's all been one continuous story. I think it's roughly like 2 or 3 months total of this world's life as it's quickly coming to an end. So I'm kind of excited to see how it wraps up.
Cool. Also coming out this week, we got the Framed collection for Switch. This is a compilation of both Framed and Framed 2, which is the game where you rearrange the panels of like an animated comic book to make the story in a like noir spy game.
Really cool puzzle game.
It's
really
basically
cool
just a bunch of visual puzzles with like logic, and as you move the things around, it changes like the narrative, and it's pretty stylish. It's not the most like graphically intensive game. The characters are kind of just shaded in black and white, but it's got some kind of pretty backgrounds to it.
I think you can find this on phones too. I'm not positive, so it'll give you an idea of the graphical prowess behind it.
Yeah, it's a neat little game though, and that comes out this week. I think it's only like $10, so you got that. Also coming out, we got Hyrule Warriors, the definitive edition on Switch. This is Dynasty Warriors Zelda edition. I don't know if I need to get super into that, but
buy this instead of Dynasty Warriors 9. Dynasty Warriors 9 is a fucking travesty to the series. Hyrule Warriors, however, surprisingly good.
Yeah, and you've got your Zelda in there, so that's fun. I'm actually really looking forward to this. I plan on picking it up and playing it with the lady, because I can get her to. She likes Zelda. It works. And Little Nightmares Complete Edition comes out for Switch. This is the spooky puzzle platformer where you play as this kid, and you switch back and forth between him and I don't remember the name of the other character, but you're confronting your fears to unlock the secrets of this spooky place that you've wound up in.
Comes very highly recommended from a couple friends of mine. I would take a look at it. Apparently, it goes very dark in some places, and I don't mean like visually. Visually, I mean the material gets really.
Yeah, it's actually
twisted.
about like exploring nightmares, like talk about your childhood fears and then amplify them into a video game. It looks interesting. I might pick it up, but I got Hyrule Warriors to play. And the other thing that I might have to play this week is the fact that State of Decay 2 is coming out. It's a thing.
Absolutely.
That happened.
There's a caveat to this, though.
It's weird that okay, yeah, so it's out on Xbox One if you have the Ultimate Edition.
And PC, but you have to buy the collector's edition.
Correct. But State of Decay is a game that kind of existed, I don't want to say independently of the zombie wave, but it was more interesting than a lot of the common cookie cutter zombie
Something
clones.
about it made it stand out in a sea of other zombie games.
Yes, because it is about survival, it is about like building up your village, and it's about putting yourself to the test in the way that a lot of people want to, in that if there's a zombie apocalypse, how would you do?
It was almost like a colony management sim.
Yeah,
some
it's
aspects
not
of it.
Not the forward shooter. It's
Yeah.
not the crazy survival game with like murder PvP like DayZ was. It's a game about surviving, but with zombies.
There was permadeath mechanics in it. The zombies would fuck you up hard in that game. Like the last thing you wanted was to make noise.
Yeah, and now we have State of Decay 2 with 4-player co-op.
This could be good. I would be all over this game if it was on Steam.
That's so true.
As it stands, I still might pick it up through the Windows Store, but
I have trouble with that. I don't even have the store installed. I think I deleted it.
You got Windows 10, you got the store. I promise you.
We'll see. And then one last thing I want to throw out. So this game doesn't actually come out this week. It does come out next week, but I have to bring it up because it was talked about in a blog post today from the guys over in the Stardew Valley camp. But it was confirmed this morning that Stardew Valley is actually going to be released on the PlayStation Vita on May 22nd.
You know, I hear a lot of good things about Stardew Valley. It's I am not into that kind of style at all, the farm sim.
Not a Harvest Moon kid.
Harvest Moon guy. But so many people have sung the praises of Stardew Valley to me. I might actually have to pick it up.
Yeah,
not on Vita.
From what I understand, Switch is like a fantastic way to do it because having it on the go is great because it's one of those time sync kind of games. Vita could much be the same thing. From what I understand, the co-op or multiplayer beta version that just came out on PC is not going to be in Vita, and I don't have any plans to move it over there. But from a lot of people that I've talked to, they vastly prefer just playing the traditional single-player game than they do to the multiplayer. It kind of just, I don't want to say it ruins the game, but it changes the mechanics and like the base play structure enough that it doesn't feel like what they want from it. You know, it's no longer about like them managing their farm and doing their own thing, and then there's other people that can show up and they don't want that. So, I don't know. I'm just letting you know what I've heard. But Stardew Valley is a game that's being released on Vita, and that's important because Vita is getting a new game next week.
It's still weird.
2016, but let's talk about the fact that the Vita's got legs.
Yeah.
And if Sony had just bothered to fucking support it, it could have been a mini Switch because it's always had remote play. And if they just bothered to patch it and pay any attention, it could have been great.
The Vita was killed by Sony's own hubris.
Womp.
Between their asinine proprietary memory cards.
Oh my god, the fact that you can buy a memory card for almost as much as the flipping system at this point is absurd, man.
Yes.
Just
and a whole host of other issues. Sony killed that handheld. I think it's pretty clear Sony killed that handheld because the people who bought a Vita and played, like, the Vita had an amazingly high attach rate.
Mm-hmm.
It has a cult. There is a dedicated, hardcore group of people who love their Vita, and Sony just, I don't know. That could have.
Now it's just a place for ports and Japanese imports, basically.
Yep, exactly, and that's a shame. But we have the Switch now. The Switch does what the Vita never could. Anyways, this, I think, wraps things up, David. Once again, if you're watching us live here at twitch.tv/GamePoints, we do stream live every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Feel free to join the show. This is an audience interactive podcast, so questions, comments, concerns, anything you might want to talk about, feel free to bring up a chat, and we do try to get to it if we can. If you can't watch us live, however, feel free to tune into our YouTube page. Just type in GamePoints, one word. We should pop right up. I know we haven't been live in a while. Once again, I apologize for that. I got sick. Life gets in the way, but we should get back to a normal schedule. Topic of the week, quote unquote, not really week, but soon, is that we are going to be doing our E3 predictions either next week or the week after. So if you want to get in on that, send us your E3 predictions at GamePointsPC@gmail.com, or you can just tweet them to the show, GamePointsPC at Twitter, or myself, CapitalistPig21 on Twitter as well, or David there, Palstrife_Satori, also on Twitter. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know the typical things people sign off podcasts with. Once again, I'm Stephen Brown. This has been Game Points. Thank you for watching. And until next Monday, we're out of here.